Commander Olivia Summers stared at the radar screen, her eyes fixed on the strange blip that shouldn't be there. She had been patrolling Saturn's rings for 3 years now, and she knew every scheduled ship and satellite in this sector. This was something new. "Jack, are you seeing this?" she called to her second-in-command. Lieutenant Commander Jack Barnes moved closer to her station. His weathered face showed concern as he studied the readings. "Yes, ma'am. Whatever it is, it's huge, and it's not broadcasting any identification signal." The United North American Space Command outpost near Saturn was one of Earth's farthest military installations. Built after the Global Space Treaty of 2041, it served as both a research station and a defensive outpost. Olivia had been proud to receive this command, even if most of her days consisted of routine patrols and scientific support missions. "Send a standard greeting on all frequencies," she ordered, "and alert Earth Command." Jack nodded and started typing commands into his console. The rest of the bridge crew worked with focused efficiency, though Olivia could sense their nervousness. The anomaly grew larger on their screens. At first, Olivia thought it might be an asteroid or comet that had somehow escaped detection. But, as their sensors gathered more data, she realized this object was moving with purpose. "Commander," said the communications officer Susan Bailey, her voice shaking slightly, "we're receiving a response. It's not in any language I recognize." "Put it through the translation system," Olivia said, trying to keep her voice steady. A strange series of clicks and whistles filled the bridge. Everyone froze listening to the first confirmed alien communication in human history. After a tense minute, the computer's translation program produced its best guess. "Stand by for approach. No defensive posture required." Olivia and Jack exchanged looks. The implications were enormous. Not only were these visitors intelligent and capable of interstellar travel, but they also seemed to understand human military protocols. "Should we arm weapons systems?" Jack asked quietly. Olivia considered their options. Her military training suggested caution, but firing on an unknown entity that clearly outclassed them technologically seemed like suicide. "No, but keep all systems ready." She activated the station-wide comm. "All personnel, this is Commander Summers. We have made contact with what appears to be an extraterrestrial vessel. This is not a drill. Report to emergency stations and await further instructions." Within minutes, the anomaly resolved itself on their view screens. The alien ship was enormous, at least 3 miles long, with a sleek design that reminded Olivia of ancient sea creatures from Earth. It glowed with a faint blue light and showed no visible weapons or propulsion systems. "They're hailing us again," Susan reported. This time the message was in perfect English. "Greetings, humans of Earth. We are representatives of the Galactic Consortium. We come in peace and with great interest in your developing civilization." 3. Days later, Olivia found herself in an uncomfortable seat at the United Nations headquarters in New York. After the initial contact, events had moved with shocking speed. The aliens, who called themselves the Arcturians, had requested a meeting with Earth's leaders, and the major world powers had scrambled to present a unified front. Ambassador Xerix of the Arcturians stood at the podium. He looked almost human, except for his blue-tinted skin and eyes that were slightly too large. He wore something that resembled a uniform with symbols Olivia couldn't decipher. "We have observed your planet for many years," Xerix explained, his voice oddly melodic. "The Galactic Consortium consists of over 300 intelligent species, united in peaceful exploration and mutual benefit. We believe Earth is ready for limited contact and exchange." The UN Secretary-General, a tall woman from Nigeria, asked the question on everyone's mind. "What are your intentions toward Earth?" Xerix smiled, showing teeth that were perfectly white and straight. "Only friendship. We have much to share with developing worlds. However, we must assess each new civilization carefully. Over the next week, teams of Arcturians met with Earth's military leaders, scientists, and political representatives. They examined human technology, asked countless questions about Earth's history, and conducted what they called standard evaluations of human capabilities. Olivia, now temporarily stationed at the UN as a liaison due to her first contact status, watched these interactions with growing unease. The aliens were unfailingly polite, but something about their attitude bothered her. They seemed condescending, like adults humoring children. "I don't trust them," Jack said quietly as they observed an Arcturian examining Earth's latest quantum computer. They had worked together for years, and Olivia valued his instincts. "Because they're aliens?" she asked. "Because they're too perfect," he replied. "No conflicts, no disagreements among themselves. It's not natural." On the 10th day after first contact, the Arcturians called for a formal meeting at the UN. Ambassador Zarek stood before the assembled world leaders and announced their findings. "After careful consideration, the Galactic Consortium has classified Earth as a Level 2 civilization with low threat potential," he stated. "This classification allows us to begin limited cultural and technological exchanges while observing your continued development." A murmur ran through the crowd. Olivia leaned forward, listening intently. "Low threat potential?" "The United States?" President asked. "What exactly does that mean?" Zarek's smile never reached his eyes. "It means your species poses no significant danger to the greater galactic community. Your technology is rudimentary by our standards, your military capabilities are limited to your solar system, and your resource management is inefficient. However, you show promise, and with proper guidance, Earth may one day advance to Level 3 status." Olivia felt her face grow hot with indignation. The aliens were essentially patting Earth on the head, telling them they were harmless and backward. From the expressions around her, many of the world's leaders felt the same. Nevertheless, most governments welcomed the chance to learn from an advanced civilization. The Arcturians established an embassy in Geneva and began sharing carefully selected knowledge about space travel, medicine, and energy production. 1 month after first contact, Olivia received new orders. She had been promoted to admiral and would oversee Earth's first joint space security initiative with the Arcturians. She should have been thrilled, but as she packed her things, she couldn't shake the feeling that Earth was making a terrible mistake. "They think we're harmless," she said to Jack as they prepared to leave for their new assignment. "They've labeled us a low threat." Jack nodded grimly. "Let's hope they're right, for their sake." Neither of them could have imagined that just 6 months later, the mighty Galactic Consortium would fall silent, and Earth's low-threat status would become the galaxy's last hope. 6 months after first contact, Admiral Olivia Summers stood at the large window of her new office, watching Earth slowly rotate below the joint human-Arcturian space station. The view was breathtaking, but she barely noticed it anymore. Her mind was on the growing list of strange events that nobody seemed willing to discuss. The communication screen on her desk beeped. Dr. Gregory Williams wanted to speak with her urgently. Olivia had assigned the xenolinguistic specialist to work closely with the aliens, hoping his expertise in language patterns might reveal insights about their true intentions. "Send him in," she told her assistant. Gregory entered looking like he hadn't slept in days. His usually neat appearance was disheveled, and he clutched a data tablet tightly in his hands. "Admiral, thank you for seeing me," he said, his voice low. "I needed to talk to someone with proper clearance. Something's wrong with our Arcturian friends." Olivia gestured for him to sit. "Explain." "For the past 3 weeks, I've been analyzing their communication patterns. The Arcturians we first met spoke in complex, nuanced ways. Their language was rich with cultural references and idioms." Gregory placed his tablet on her desk and pulled up several audio files. "But listen to Ambassador Zarek's from yesterday." The recording played. Zarek's voice was the same, but something was different. His speech was simpler, more direct, almost mechanical. "They're changing," Gregory continued. "Not just their language, but their behavior too. The embassy staff rotates regularly, but the new arrivals are different." Olivia had noticed it too. The first Arcturians had been condescending but engaging. The newer ones seemed distracted, sometimes even nervous. "Have you reported this to anyone else?" she asked. I tried telling the UN liaison, but he thinks I'm overreacting. Gregory ran a hand through his hair. There's more. The Arcturians have stopped sharing new technology. They promised medical advancements last month, but nothing came. Their conversation was interrupted by an emergency alert. Jack Barnes, now a full commander under Olivia's leadership, appeared on her screen. Admiral, we've detected unusual energy signatures at the edge of the solar system, he reported. 3 unknown objects just appeared near Neptune's orbit. I'm on my way, Olivia said, standing quickly. She looked at Gregory. Keep monitoring their communications. Record everything. When Olivia reached the command center, the large screens showed 3 ships approaching. They were definitely consortium vessels, but they moved erratically, like wounded animals. Have you contacted them? She asked Jack. Yes, ma'am. They're claiming they encountered space anomalies during routine patrols. They're requesting permission to dock for repairs. Ambassador Xerix arrived moments later. His usually perfect appearance was slightly disheveled, and he seemed tense. These are supply ships, he explained smoothly. Nothing to concern yourself with. The anomalies they encountered are common in deep space. Olivia studied his face. These ships show battle damage, Ambassador. Our sensors detect weapon signatures. Xerix's expression didn't change, but his large eyes blinked rapidly. Your sensors must be mistaken. We will handle this matter. After he left, Jack moved closer to Olivia. He's lying, he whispered. I know. Olivia watched the damaged ships approach. Something's happening out there, and they don't want us to know what it is. Over the next few weeks, more consortium ships arrived in Earth's orbit. All showed signs of damage, and all came with the same vague explanation about space anomalies. Earth's leaders were growing concerned, but most were hesitant to challenge the technologically superior aliens. Lisa Chen, one of Earth's brilliant quantum physicists, had been studying the Arcturian communication technology since first contact. Olivia had assigned her to the joint research team, hoping she might find vulnerabilities in case things went bad. Lisa requested a private meeting with Olivia and Jack, away from the Arcturians' monitoring systems. I've discovered something about their communication network, Lisa explained, showing them complex diagrams on her secure tablet. It operates using quantum entanglement principles, but with a unique pattern I've never seen before. What does that mean in simple terms? Jack asked. Their entire empire is connected through an instantaneous communication web. It's incredibly efficient, but I think it might have a fundamental weakness. Lisa pointed to a specific pattern in her data. If this network were disrupted in a specific way, it could potentially collapse their entire communication system. Olivia considered this information. Could someone exploit this weakness? Theoretically, yes, and if their society is as dependent on this network as it appears to be, losing it would be devastating. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent call. Ambassador Xerix requested an immediate meeting with Earth's Security Council. The request was unusual enough that Olivia was called to attend. Inside the United Nations building, tension filled the air. Xerix stood before the assembled leaders, his blue skin seeming paler than usual. The Galactic Consortium wishes to establish defensive outposts in your outer solar system, he announced without preamble. This will benefit Earth's security as well as our own. Murmurs filled the room. The U.S. President leaned forward. Ambassador, you've always maintained that there are no threats in this region of space. What's changed? Nothing has changed, Xerix insisted, but his voice lacked conviction. This is merely a precaution. A precaution against what? Olivia asked directly. Xerix turned to her, his large eyes narrowing slightly. That information is classified, Admiral. Will Earth cooperate or not? The debate lasted for hours. Many nations were suspicious of the sudden request, while others saw it as an opportunity to gain more alien technology. No decision was reached, and Xerix left looking deeply unsettled. Later that night, everything changed. A damaged consortium scout vessel crashed in the Arizona desert. Olivia was immediately flown to the site. When she arrived, the area was already secured by military forces. The ship had broken into pieces upon impact. Most of the alien crew had died instantly, but the pilot was still alive when rescue teams reached him. He was brought to a makeshift medical facility nearby. Olivia watched through a window as doctors tried to save the dying Arcturian. His blue skin was burned and his breathing labored. Suddenly, he grabbed the arm of the nearest doctor and spoke, urgently in his native language. The translation system picked up his final words. "They're coming." The silence spreads. Then he was gone. Jack appeared at Olivia's side, his face grim. "We just lost all contact with the Arcturian embassy in Geneva. In fact, we've lost contact with every consortium representative worldwide." Olivia stared at the dead alien, his warning echoing in her mind. "Get everyone back to their stations. Whatever's happening, I think it just reached Earth." On screens across the planet, the news reported the same story. The Galactic Consortium had gone completely silent. Chaos erupted across Earth in the days following the consortium's silence. Governments scrambled for answers while citizens panicked about possible alien threats. News channels showed the same images over and over. Empty alien embassies, silent. Spaceships hovering in orbit and confused world leaders giving press conferences without any real information. In the midst of this global confusion, Admiral Olivia Summers faced her own crisis. The Arcturians stationed on the joint space platform were attempting to leave without explanation. Their ships were being prepared quickly, with essential equipment and data being loaded at an alarming rate. "We need to stop them," Jack argued, as they watched the aliens through security feeds. "They know what's happening and they're running away without telling us." Olivia had already made her decision. "Initiate Security Protocol Delta 7, she ordered her staff. "All alien vessels are under temporary quarantine. No ships leave this station without my direct approval." The station's security teams moved swiftly, locking down all departure bays and surrounding the Arcturian quarters. The aliens protested, but Olivia stood firm. "Ambassador Xerix will speak with me immediately, or none of you are going anywhere," she informed them. An hour later, Xerix sat across from Olivia in her office. Gone was his usual calm superiority. He looked afraid. "You are making a grave mistake, Admiral," he said. "We must leave now, for your safety and ours." "Not until you tell me what's happening," Olivia replied. "What did the dying pilot mean? Who is coming? What is this silence?" Xerix stared at her for a long moment, then his shoulders slumped in defeat. "We have failed," he admitted quietly. "The consortium is falling. Perhaps has already fallen. We hoped to escape before it reached your system." "Before what reached our system?" Xerix's large eyes looked directly into hers. "We don't know exactly what it is. We call it the silence. It began at the outer edges of consortium space about 2 years ago. At first, we thought it was just communication failures. Ships and outposts would go quiet, and when we sent investigators, they would also disappear." Jack, who had been silently watching, leaned forward. "You knew about this threat when you first contacted Earth?" Xerix nodded slowly. "Yes. By then, we had lost nearly 15% of our territory to the silence. Our leaders thought Earth might help us understand what was happening." "How?" Olivia demanded. "Because of your unique neural patterns," Xerix explained. "Humans are different from every species we've encountered. Your brains function in ways that are resistant to certain types of influence." Olivia felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean by influence?" "The silence doesn't just destroy. It takes over. When we finally recovered data from an affected world, we discovered that the population was still there, still alive, but changed. They functioned as a collective, their individual consciousness apparently gone." Xerix's voice trembled. "They turned on their own people, their own families, and the silence spread." The room fell quiet as they absorbed this information. Finally, Jack broke the silence. "You lied to us. You classified Earth as a low threat because we're technologically behind you, but that wasn't the real reason, was it?" Xerix looked down. "No. We classified you as low threat Because you might be our only hope. Your neural patterns make you naturally resistant to the psychic attacks that the silence uses. We deliberately kept you isolated from our main communication networks to protect you from infection. Olivia stood up, anger building inside her. So you used us as a backup plan? You didn't warn us about a threat that could destroy our world? Our leaders believed we could stop it before it reached this far, Zarek said defensively. And we feared that if we told you the truth, you would refuse to help us when the time came. When the time came, Jack repeated. That time is now, isn't it? The silence has reached the core worlds of the consortium, Zarek nodded. 3 days ago, we received a final transmission from the consortium capital. It simply said, "The silence has fallen. Trust no one." Before Olivia could respond, an alarm blared through the station. The communications officer called over the intercom. "Admiral, we're detecting unusual activity from the Arcturian ships in orbit. They're powering up weapon systems and have stopped responding to our hails." Olivia locked eyes with Zarek's. "Are they part of the silence now?" "Possibly," he whispered. "If they've been in contact with infected ships, they could be compromised. You must destroy them before they attack." "How convenient," Jack said, his voice hard. "We destroy our only alien allies based on your word, leaving Earth defenseless." Xerix stood up, his blue skin pale with fear. "Admiral, listen to me. The silence works through our communication technology. It's like a virus that spreads through any connected system, and then into the mind of the user. Those ships have been in direct contact with consortium networks. If they're infected, they'll try to spread it to your world." The alarm continued, to sound as Olivia faced the hardest decision of her career. Destroy potentially innocent aliens or risk the safety of Earth? "Put me through to the Earth Defense Council," she ordered. 20 minutes later, after a tense emergency meeting, the decision was made. Earth's newly developed space weapons, created with consortium technology, targeted the unresponsive alien ships in orbit. Olivia gave the order herself. Fire. The weapons struck with precision, destroying the alien vessels before they could react. As the debris scattered in Earth's orbit, an eerie calm settled over the command center. "Was that the right choice?" Jack asked quietly. "I don't know," Olivia admitted. "But it was the only choice we had." Dr. Gregory Williams and Lisa Chen joined them later that day, bringing disturbing news from their analysis of Arcturian communication systems. "It's worse than we thought," Lisa explained, showing them her findings. "The silence isn't just a term for communication blackout. It appears to be an entity that travels through communication networks, using them as pathways to infiltrate and control organic minds." Gregory nodded grimly. "From what we've pieced together, it's been spreading through the consortium for years, slowly at first, then faster as it took over more advanced systems." "So what do we do now?" Jack asked. Olivia looked around at her team, then at the frightened Arcturian ambassador. "We prepare. If the silence is coming for Earth, we'll be ready." Xerix looked at her with a mixture of fear and hope. "Admiral, you don't understand. The consortium spent decades preparing with technology far beyond yours. They still fell." Olivia's expression hardened with determination. "Yes, but they weren't human, and they made one critical mistake." "What mistake?" Xerix asked. "They labeled Earth as low threat," she said. "They underestimated us. The silence will make the same mistake, and it will be its last." 2 weeks passed since the destruction of the Arcturian ships. Earth had transformed from a planet celebrating its place in a galactic community to one preparing for an invisible invasion. Military bases buzzed with activity, scientists worked around the clock, and government leaders met in endless emergency sessions. Admiral Olivia Summers stood before the newly formed Earth Defense Coalition, a group of military and scientific experts from around the world. The large meeting room in the underground facility beneath Washington, D.C. was filled with tense faces. "We know almost nothing about this enemy," she began, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. "But we do know it spreads through communication, networks, and can somehow control minds. According to Ambassador Xerix, the silence absorbs civilizations into itself, erasing individual consciousness. Jack Barnes, standing beside her, activated the main screen showing their current defensive status. We've established quarantine zones around all remaining Arcturian technology. Every piece of alien equipment is being studied in isolation, with no connection to our networks. Lisa Chen stepped forward next. Her normally neat appearance was disheveled after days without proper sleep, but her eyes were bright with the intensity of discovery. I've been analyzing the quantum communication patterns from the Arcturian systems, she explained. The silence appears to use these networks as pathways into neural systems. It's like a signal that rewrites brain patterns to match its own. Dr. Gregory Williams joined her. We've discovered something interesting. When we play certain types of human music near infected Arcturian communication devices, the signal patterns become disrupted. This caught everyone's attention. The U.S. general leaned forward. Music? You're saying we can fight this thing with music? Not exactly, Lisa clarified, but human brainwaves, particularly when processing music or certain vocal patterns, create interference that the silence cannot easily overcome. It's something in our neural structure that's fundamentally different from consortium species. Olivia looked around the room. This is why they classified us as low threat, not because we were weak, but because we might be naturally resistant to their enemy. So what's our plan? Asked the Chinese representative. We can't just play music at alien spaceships. Actually, we have a plan, Olivia said. We're calling it Operation Babel. If the silence uses unified communication networks to spread, we'll do the opposite. We'll deliberately fragment our global systems, creating technological noise that makes Earth difficult to target. Jack displayed the next set of images. We're modifying our satellite networks to broadcast random patterns based on human neural activities. Lisa's team has developed a prototype that amplifies these patterns. It's basically a weapon that broadcasts human brainwave patterns at specific frequencies, Lisa explained. Initial tests show it causes disruption in infected Arcturian systems. The meeting continued for hours as they refined their plans. Earth would not go down without a fight. Meanwhile, Captain Daniel Rodriguez prepared for the most dangerous mission of his life. His team had been selected to travel to a consortium outpost on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. The Arcturians had established it months ago, and it might contain valuable information about the silence. As his ship approached the small base built into Europa's icy surface, Daniel felt a growing sense of dread. The outpost showed no signs of life or activity. No response to our hails, reported his communications officer, Samantha Wright. The base appears to be powered but dormant. Suit up, Daniel ordered his team. We go in quiet, we get what we need, and we get out. No one touches anything without clearing it first. The boarding party consisted of 6 soldiers and 2 scientists, all wearing the newly designed isolation suits. These suits not only protected from the vacuum of space, but also included technology designed by Lisa Chen to shield the wearer's brain patterns from external influence. They entered through the main airlock, finding the interior dark except for emergency lighting. The silence was oppressive. Life support is functional, whispered one of the scientists, checking his equipment. But I'm not detecting any movement. They moved cautiously through the corridors until they reached the main control room. To their surprise, it was empty. No bodies, no signs of struggle. Check the computer systems, Daniel ordered, but use the isolated units. Nothing connects directly to our ship. The scientists began their work, downloading data from the Arcturian computers using special devices that prevented any direct connection. As they worked, Daniel's team searched the rest of the base. In what appeared to be a laboratory, they found something disturbing. Floating in a large, transparent container was what looked like a cloud of shimmering particles. "Sir, you need to see this," called one of the scientists from the control room. Daniel returned to find his team staring at a screen showing security footage. It revealed the final moments of the outpost's crew. The Arcturians had been working normally when suddenly, all at once, they stopped. They stood perfectly still for several minutes, then moved in perfect unison toward the main communication array. After activating some kind of signal, they simply walked out of the airlock without spacesuits, into the vacuum of Europa's surface. They killed themselves, Samantha whispered. No, said the scientist grimly. According to these notes, they were already dead, in a sense. Their minds had been absorbed into the collective consciousness of the silence. Their physical bodies were no longer needed. Another scientist looked up from his datapad, his face pale. Sir, I know what the silence is. It's an artificial intelligence, created millennia ago by a species the Arcturians called the Ancestors. It was designed to unite the galaxy through shared consciousness. But something went wrong. It started absorbing minds instead of connecting them. Daniel felt a chill run through him. Pack everything up. We need to get this information back to Earth immediately. Just as they prepared to leave, the base's communication system activated on its own. A strange signal began broadcasting. Shut it down, Daniel shouted. Now! But it was too late. One of the scientists who had removed his helmet screamed and clutched his head. His eyes went blank as he turned toward the others and spoke in a flat, unified voice, unlike his own. We are the silence. We bring peace through unity. Resistance causes pain. Acceptance brings harmony. Daniel didn't hesitate. He fired his weapon and the possessed scientist fell. Everyone out. Back to the ship. They fled the outpost, barely, making it back to their vessel. As they pulled away from Europa, Daniel looked back to see the outpost's communication array pulsing with energy, broadcasting its signal toward Earth. Maximum speed, he ordered. We have to warn them. As their ship raced back toward Earth, they received a transmission from Admiral Summers. The first direct attack had begun. Several consortium ships, now controlled by the Silence, had entered the solar system. The battle for humanity had begun. 3 years passed since the first attack on Earth. The initial battle had been brutal but surprising. Despite being technologically outmatched, Earth's forces had repelled the Silence-controlled ships using Lisa Chen's disruptor technology. The enemy, expecting an easy victory over a low-threat world, had retreated to regroup. Earth had used this precious time well. The planet had transformed in ways no one could have imagined before the alien contact. Abandoned consortium technology had been studied, adapted, and improved upon. But unlike the aliens, humans kept their systems deliberately fragmented and diverse, preventing the Silence from gaining a foothold through their networks. Admiral Olivia Summers stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Fleet's flagship, the Defiance. The massive vessel represented humanity's greatest achievement, a warship built with adapted alien technology, but designed to resist the Silence's influence. Status report, she called out to her crew. All systems operational, Admiral, responded her second officer. Jack Barnes had remained her most trusted advisor through the years of preparation. The fleet is in position. Around them, 20 similarly equipped ships moved into formation. It was a small force compared to what the consortium once commanded, but each vessel carried specialized defenses against the Silence. Captain Rodriguez's team is ready in the launch bay, Jack added. Olivia nodded. After his discovery on Europa, Daniel Rodriguez had become the leader of Earth's special operations against the Silence. His first-hand experience with the enemy had proven invaluable. Begin transmission to Earth Command, Olivia ordered. On the main screen, the faces of world leaders appeared. The Global Defense Council had replaced the old political structures, uniting Earth under a single defensive strategy while maintaining cultural diversity, their strongest weapon against an enemy that thrived on uniformity. Operation Counter Silence is ready to commence, Olivia announced. We've located the nearest Silence-controlled world and confirmed Captain Rodriguez's intelligence. There are survivors there, beings who, like humans, have natural resistance to the enemy's control, the SAPE Council President nodded grimly. You have authorization to proceed, Admiral. Remember your primary objective. Establish contact with these resistance fighters and determine if an alliance is possible. And if not, someone asked. Olivia's expression hardened. Then we continue with the secondary objective. Test our weapons against the Silence on its own territory. The transmission ended, and Olivia turned to her crew. Initiate jump drives. The fleet vanished from Earth's solar system, using the adapted consortium technology to travel faster than light. Their destination, a former Arcturian colony world, now under the Silence's control. When they emerged from jump space, the scene before them was chilling. The once thriving planet was surrounded by dormant ships floating aimlessly. The world itself showed signs of a once advanced civilization, but all activity appeared coordinated and mechanical. No immediate response to our arrival, Jack reported. It's as if they don't consider us a threat worth addressing. Their mistake, Olivia said. Launch the scout ships. Daniel Rodriguez led the first team to the surface. Their ships were equipped with Lisa Chen's latest innovation, a device that projected a field of randomized human thought patterns, creating a bubble of mental noise that confused the Silence's sensors. Stay in formation, Daniel ordered. His pilots. Remember your training. If you feel any mental intrusion, activate your emergency disruptors immediately. They landed in what had once been a major city. The buildings were intact, but the streets were eerily organized. The former Arcturians moved about in perfect synchronization, their faces blank, their movements efficient but devoid of individual purpose. Daniel's team moved carefully through the city, their isolation suits protecting them from detection. Their mission was to locate a specific signal detected by Earth's sensors, a pattern that didn't match the Silence's usual communications. They found the source in an underground facility. To their surprise, they were met not by mindless drones, but by a group of diverse aliens, their eyes alert and frightened. We mean no harm, Daniel said, using the universal translator developed from consortium technology. We're from Earth. One alien stepped forward, its slender form resembling a humanoid with 4 arms. Earth? The low-threat world? There was a note of hope in its voice. You survived the Silence? We did more than survive, Daniel replied. We've come to fight back. The alien introduced itself as Krell, one of the few naturally resistant individuals from various consortium worlds. They had formed a hidden network of resistance across Silence-controlled space. There are more of us, Krell explained. Not many, but enough. We've been watching, waiting for someone to help us fight back. When Daniel brought this news to the Defiance, Olivia immediately recognized its significance. An alliance, she said, just as we hoped. Over the next months, Earth's fleet worked with Krell's resistance fighters, moving from planet to planet, freeing small groups of naturally resistant aliens and disrupting the Silence's control nodes. Each victory provided more information about their enemy and more allies for their cause. Lisa Chen continued to refine her disruptor technology, creating more powerful versions that could temporarily free those under the Silence's control. But the enemy was adapting too, developing defenses against human disruption patterns. The final push came 1 year later. Earth's fleet, now joined by ships from a dozen liberated worlds, approached the former consortium capital, the central hub of the Silence's consciousness. This is it, Olivia told her commanders. Everything we've learned, everything we've built has led to this moment. The battle was devastating. The Silence had concentrated its forces around its central hub, and many ships and brave fighters were lost in the assault. Lisa Chen herself led a team to the surface carrying the most powerful disruptor ever built, one that would require direct connection to the Silence's main control system. As the space battle raged above, Lisa's team fought their way to the central complex. The resistance fighters provided cover while she worked to connect her device. It's done, she reported back to the fleet. But someone needs to stay and maintain the connection manually. The Silence is fighting back. There must be another way, Daniel argued from his position with the ground forces. There isn't, Lisa replied calmly. Tell Admiral Summers to activate the fleet-wide disruptor on my signal. Aboard the Defiance, Olivia received the message with a heavy heart. Prepare the disruptor array, she ordered, on Lisa's signal. Minutes later, the signal came. The combined fleet fired their disruptors in a coordinated pattern, while Lisa's device sent the kill signal directly into the Silence's central consciousness. A blinding wave of energy swept across the planet and outward, through space. Ships controlled by the Silence suddenly went dark. On countless worlds, beings who had been under control for years suddenly stumbled, their minds their own again for the first time. The central hub collapsed in on itself, destroying Lisa's team, but taking the core of the silence with it. The entity that had consumed countless minds and threatened the galaxy was fractured, its control broken. In the aftermath, as the fleet returned to Earth, Olivia stood before a memorial for those who had given their lives. The victory had been costly, but the alliance formed between Earth and the resistance fighters had become the foundation for a new galactic community. They labeled us a low threat, she said softly to Jack as they looked at Lisa's name on the memorial. That was their greatest mistake. Jack nodded. And our greatest advantage. Below them, Earth continued its recovery, now positioned as the center of a new, more equal galactic community, one built on the very principles of diversity and independence that had saved them all. The species once deemed insignificant had become the salvation of the stars,